Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and today we're going to be looking at a band I have never heard of before. Surprise, surprise, I do that quite a lot on here. But I'm going to be looking at a band called Rivers of Nihil, and I don't mean Nile as in the River Nile, I mean Nile as in nihility, spelled N-I-H-I-L. So yeah, I'd never heard of them before. I only discovered this band through a friend of mine on Facebook posting a video of theirs. I didn't actually listen to the track, but I thought, that might be interesting to investigate. So here we are. Now, having not heard of the band before, as we all know, I have to do some research. So I found a fairly decent amount of information on them, and what I found is the Rivers of Nihil is an American technical death metal band from Reading, Pennsylvania, formed in 2009. They recorded their first EP, Hierarchy, later in 2009, with Century vocalist Carson Slovak producing the album. The EP, sorry. And he has produced numerous works for other bands such as August Burns Red, Texas in July, and Black Crown Initiate. To date, Rivers Nihil has released 2 EPs and 4 studio albums. So, they've done a fair few releases, and I've never ever heard of them, so, interesting. Their most recent release is The Work, which was actually released only 5 days ago, on September 24th, as of the recording of this video. The album debuted at number 61 on the Billboard 200, selling 2,750 copies in the first week. How they can say in the first week, I don't know, because the week hasn't finished yet. Anyway, the band has opened shows for bands such as Decapitated, Decrepit Birth, Suffocation, Dying Fetus, and Misery Index. So, those are some quite high-profile bands to be opening for. So this interests me. Technical death metal could be quite good. I'm all for death metal and technical death metal, what have you. The track we're going to be looking at today is called The Void from Which No Sound Escapes. Now, I do have some lyrics here, but I don't know how accurate they're going to be, because as of the recording of this video, the song's only been out for about an hour, maybe 2 hours, and these lyrics come from a comment underneath the video. Now, I don't know whether it's come from a member of the band or not, because the name of the commenter, it wasn't the name of the band, so I don't know the source of these lyrics, but they were underneath the track, so here's hoping for the best. So yes, let's jump into this and see what we've got. So, The Void from Which No Sound Escapes by Rivers of Nihil. Let's have a shufty. That was amazing. I mean, that was brilliant. I mean, just the whole composition of the thing, the performance, just everything was just absolutely amazing. And a technical death metal band performing some incredibly heavy music with some incredibly well performed harsh vocals, and they throw a saxophone in there and it works. What? That's just amazing. Wow, this band are brilliant. How have I never heard of them before? Why has no one ever told me about this band before? That track was fantastic. I mean, I love the way it started off. I mean, you could barely hear any of the vocals. I mean, that might have just been my headphones, possibly. But, you know, the opening vocals for the track are so quiet, I could barely hear them. Which is just great. I mean, given the name of the track, The Void from Which No Sound Escapes, you know, it's self-explanatory. What? That was amazing. And I think that's possibly only the third, maybe fourth metal band ever that I've heard with a saxophone in it. And they made it work so well. I mean, it wasn't out of place at all. It fitted the mood of the music. It has blown my mind. Fantastic. And, you know, the vocal performances as well, like I said, quite quiet vocals. You know, obviously you can see in the video, you know, the drummer had a microphone there, so obviously he was singing. Then you had the harsh vocals coming in. I don't know whether that was the guest vocalist that was mentioned at the end of the video, whose name, unfortunately, I cannot remember right now. But whether he was doing the harsh vocals, I don't know. But all of the vocal elements in this track were so brilliantly performed, and this... I cannot praise this track enough. I mean, that was just phenomenal. And like I said, this track comes off their newest album, The Work, which came out on September 24th, about 5 days ago, as of the recording of this video. But I'm going to put a link down below to where you can go and buy it if you should be interested in it. You can rest assured I'm going to be looking into some of their previous collections, as well as possibly getting my hands on the new album, because if all of their music is anything like that one track, you know, I'm all for it. I mean, that was just phenomenal. It sounded great. I mean, the drums played such a central part in that piece of music. They were like the main focus of the track, which was not something you hear very often. I mean, obviously they had the guitars and whatnot in it, but the drums were such a focus on that, which is so unusual. I love everything about this track. Everything about this piece of music was just unbelievable. Unbelievable. So anyway, let's get into the lyrics here. It says, away from here, no sound to hear, no sound. Away from here, no sound to hear. All of this work, I want you to remain here, away from here. I tear out my being, away from here. I feed it to my children, away from here. All of this work, I want you to remain here, away from here. No idea what this means. But, and like I said, I'm not 100% certain that these are 100% accurate, because like I said, the vocals at the beginning were quite quiet, so I'm not sure if they're 100% accurate, but they seem to be for the most part. And then, of course, we had the harsh vocals coming in. No escape, this void keeps gripping tighter. Should I let it stay? It might just swallow me whole. Running away, I want you to remain. Now, this bit makes me think of depression. You know, a void from which no sound escapes, like if you're falling into depression and you're calling out for help and no one's listening to you. And, you know, he's talking about the void keeps gripping him tighter. It might just swallow me whole. You know, could it be talking about depression? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but that's the closest thing I can possibly come up with. And you know, it says, I tear out my being and feed it to my children. It keeps them sick with poison, addicted to these noises. Not a single sound escapes this void which cannot be found. Speak louder so this voice will carry. Speak now before we get too carried away. What did you expect to hear? A voice so loud and so clear, breathing in and out, a sigh of sweet relief tonight. What did you expect to be but a cynical man just like me, drifting in and out of life like curious moonlight? Again, there's that hint there that maybe this has to do with depression or a mental illness of some kind. You know, what did you expect to be but a cynical man just like me, drifting in and out of life? Possibly, I don't know. When the fires fade and the rivers dry, when you speak my name like a weighted sigh. So, speak my name like a weighted sigh, sort of like, you know, something that weighs heavy upon you. Again, could possibly be associated with it. I don't know. Why don't you hear the whisper in the void that we made real today? Not a single sound escapes this void which cannot be found. Speak louder so this voice will carry. Speak now before we all get carried away. When the fires fade and the rivers dry, when you speak my name just to say goodbye. I'm what you fear, a whisper in the void with no escape. No escape. When the fires fade and the rivers dry, when you speak my name like a weighted sigh, why don't you hear the whisper in the void that we made real today? So, like I said, I'm not entirely sure if there is any sort of deeper meaning behind the song. It does seem to have certain elements which one could attribute to possibly depression or mental health issues or something like that. But I'm not entirely certain. But I just love the way the song is written. I love the way the song was performed, as you could obviously tell by the way I've been raving about it. I mean, I'm going to go back and listen to this track as soon as I've finished recording this, because I loved it. It was mind-blowing. And I'm going to go and see if I can get my hands on their past material, because I want to hear more. Because this was just simply astounding. But I don't know what else I could say about that. So I'm going to leave that as it is. Now, if anybody would like to suggest a track for me to react to, then please do so. By all means, drop a comment in the comment section below, or message me on my Facebook or my Instagram, or you could even message me through my Patreon, where you could also help to support this channel, which would of course be a massive help to me, since every piece of content I upload gets immediately demonetized the moment it gets uploaded to the channel, which is a bit of a pain in the backside, but you know, it is what it is. There's an option in Patreon where you can get your suggestion jumped to the front of the queue if you should so desire it. There's a limit on how frequently you can do that, which is limited to once a month, and that's just to be fair to other people who might suggest tracks through YouTube, Facebook and Instagram comments. And if you do suggest a track through YouTube, Facebook or Instagram comments, do know it could take me a while to get around to your suggestion, since I do get suggested so many new tracks every single day. My list grows faster than I can record the videos, plus I recently took several weeks off from doing videos to deal with my own mental health issues, so I've got a bit of a backlog going on there as well. But I do write down every suggestion I get, so it should get done eventually. It just might take me a while to get to it, unfortunately. Also, MetalHead Reacts is a proud supporter of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, a British-based charity whose goal is to put an end to hate crimes. And one of the major facets of that is hate crimes against people of the alternative community, which is something I believe in very, very strongly, and it's something that gets very widely ignored. It sort of gets brushed under the carpet and treated as not a big deal. And the problem is, it is a much bigger deal than people seem to think it is. Because every day, all around the world, people from the alternative community are getting violently assaulted just purely because of their taste in music and the clothing that they wear. And it never gets reported. Nothing ever gets said about it. And, you know, we're not just talking about insults being shouted or, you know, getting shoulder rammed as you walk down the street. We're talking about violent, brutal crimes where people are getting hospitalized, sometimes with broken limbs and sometimes even more life-threatening injuries. The last time there was any widespread conversation about this sort of thing was 14 years ago, when Sophie Lancaster and her boyfriend Rob Maltby were violently and brutally assaulted by a group of about 5 or 6 people who beat them, kicked them, punched them, and stamped on their heads so violently that they both ended up in comas. Now, Rob Maltby, he thankfully survived the assault. He was in a coma for about a week and a half, maybe a bit longer, I can't remember exactly, but he thankfully survived. Sophie Lancaster, on the other hand, she was in a coma for 13 days before she succumbed to her injuries and she died. This young woman was 20 years old and was beaten to death just because of the music that she liked and the clothes that she wore. Now, when this happened, this was all over the news, as rightfully it should have been. But over time, you know, other news stories come in and it sort of fades into the distance, which is fair enough. But in the 14 years since that's happened, we've not heard anything similar in the news. Despite the fact that in those 14 years there have been several hundred, if not thousands, of similar assaults in that time. But the difference here is that in that 14-year span, no one has died as a result of these assaults, and that's the difference. They will only talk about this if someone loses their life, and that's unacceptable. We shouldn't have to wait for someone to die before something gets said. We shouldn't have to wait for someone to lose their life before something gets done. You know, every day we hear about all these other hate crimes like sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, religious hatred, ableism, etc. We hear these on a daily basis. From the most violent of these crimes where somebody is brutally murdered because of the colour of their skin, their religious beliefs, or their sexual identity, down to the most childish and petty of these crimes where some entitled white woman is calling the police because a family of colour are having a picnic in a public space, God forbid. You know, we hear these every single day in every kind of media. But when it comes to someone from the alternative community getting violently and brutally assaulted and beaten to within an inch of their lives, we hear nothing. And that's unacceptable. Because if we keep ignoring it, the situation's only going to get worse, and there's only a matter of time before what happened to Sophie Lancaster happens again. And Sophie Lancaster isn't the first person to die as a result of these sort of attacks. This has been going on for decades. It's just Sophie Lancaster is the last one to happen, so far. But if we keep ignoring it, it's going to happen again. And you can guarantee, when it happens again, everybody's going to be in uproar, everybody's going to be crying out, going, oh, how horrible, how tragic, how could this have happened, why didn't someone do something? And this is exactly the thing. They only react when someone loses their life. And, you know, we can't wait that long. We shouldn't have to wait that long. No one should lose their life over something as trivial as their taste in music. But this is what's happening. You know, people from the alternative community are getting violently and brutally assaulted just because of their taste in music and clothing. Doesn't matter what else they like in life. Doesn't matter what else they do. People only see that they listen to alternative music, and for some reason that really triggers them and thinks that attacking them is an acceptable thing to do, and it's not. And it needs to stop before what happened to Sophie Lancaster happens again. And this is what the Sophie Lancaster Foundation is all about. They want to raise more awareness of the fact that this sort of thing is going on and that it is a much, much bigger problem than people think it is. They don't want to see another family go through what they went through when they had to watch their daughter slowly die over the course of 2 weeks because of the small-minded actions of a group of people who couldn't accept the fact that not everybody likes the same thing. Everybody has the right to be an individual, and nobody should feel scared to leave their house for fear that they're going to get violently attacked just because they like something different. So if you'd like to find out more about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, there's a link to their website in the description below. You can go over there, find out what they're working on at the moment, and find out what their overall goal is, because they can explain it a heck of a lot better than I can. And if you can help them out in any small way, obviously don't feel obligated to do so, but if you can help them out in any small way, whether it be a small donation through their website or even something as simple as one of these Sophie wristbands, or maybe even that one, you know, they've got a whole bunch of other really cool stuff going on over there. You know, the smallest amount can make the biggest difference. And the sooner we bring more attention to this, the sooner we get more people talking about this, the sooner we can help to stamp out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere. But I'm going to leave that as it is for the time being. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.